Willie, at the very core of the thesis of your piece is Pakistan's paranoia about India. Could you elaborate a little bit on where you think that comes from, and why is it not reciprocated, at least in the same way, by the Indians?
At the core of my essay is the idea that we look at the conflict in Afghanistan through the wrong pair of glasses. It is almost always perceived as the Taliban against America. The reality is that behind that puppet show there lies the reality of Pakistan funding the Taliban, not to spite Karzai, not to spite the Americans, but entirely and obsessively to avoid being surrounded by India.
To what extent do you think religion is at the heart of this, in the following sense? Pakistan was created by Muhammad Ali Jinnah as a homeland for the Muslims of South Asia, but for the Muslims. And yet they end up, as what started off as a secular state, but became, of course, an Islamic state, with this giant neighbor to the south that has almost as many, and some would say perhaps even more, Muslims. Does that exacerbate their existential fear of India?
What is, in a sense, the bigger surprise than that? Of course, I mean, it is. Pakistan looks to India as this frightening neighbor with a different religion. What is more surprising?
But with a lot of Muslims in it.
Of course, but not generally in positions of power. The establishment, overwhelmingly in India, is a Hindu establishment, for all that there is a large and mildly alienated large Muslim minority in India. But in a sense, what is more surprising is the way that India and Afghanistan have, for much of the story of it, since 1947, since the independence of India, India and Afghanistan, despite one being majority Hindu and one being 99% Muslim, have managed to form a close alliance. While Pakistan and Afghanistan, that share so much in terms of religion and so much in terms of ethnicity, and the Pashtuns are divided between the two countries, that Pakistan and Afghanistan has an extremely uneasy relationship.
There's a huge threat now to the Pakistani establishment, including the Pakistani military, and it's not coming from India. They're not worried that the Indians are going to blow up their cars or assassinate them on the street. They're worried about what Jaswant Singh, the former Indian foreign minister, who you also touch upon in your piece, has called the Afghanistanization or Talibanization of Pakistan. Is that a real phenomenon, A? And B, is there any hope that there will be a critical mass of influential Pakistanis who will recognize that that's the threat they should be worrying about rather than India?
The reality is that Pakistan now is in the grip of a major security crisis. Wherever you go around, anywhere in Lahore or go around anywhere in Islamabad, there are concrete barriers that resemble those in Kabul, sandbag emplacement, guards behind in conning towers, separated by sandbag emplacements. I recently tried to visit a friend who lived on the edge of the cantonment early in the morning, and you can't actually get to his house because the whole of central Lahore goes into lockdown during school arrival time, so that the children of the generals, colonels and brigadiers who go to this elite military school can get there safely without being bombed by suicide bombers. In other words, the Pakistan military daily face in their families the consequences of their backing of jihadi groups. This idea, which seems such a great idea to not only Pakistan but to the CIA and to British and Saudi intelligence, that we arm religious extremists to fight the Soviets, has obviously backfired, as we all know, in a million ways. 9/11 was one result, but in Pakistan it's meant that they have a huge militant population now.
Who and at what level and when in the Pakistani leadership, and particularly at a high level, knew who was living in that very well fortified house in Abbottabad?
I mean, it's very difficult to say. But what you can say is that Abbottabad is the center of officer training of the Pakistani army.
Therefore?
And the chance, the possibility that Osama bin Laden could be living there in the very center of the Pakistan military establishment without anyone in the Pakistani intelligence community knowing it, seems to me, on the face of it, almost impossible to imagine. There had to be someone there who knew about it. How far that high that went up, whether it was mainstream ISI, fringe elements in the ISI, I can't tell, and frankly, very few people can do. But the idea, the fact that it was Abbottabad, the fact that it was there at the very centre of the Pakistan military establishment, is as suspicious as you could possibly get, to be honest.
Well, thank you so much, and also, Willie, thank you so much for being the inaugural author of the Brookings essay. It's
a great privilege and a great honour. Thank you.
Terrific piece, and a lot of people are saying that you've completed now a trilogy. I'm just wondering if there won't be a volume 4 at some point.
Inshallah, as they say.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.